Module 7 practice problems. Number 1. Find a volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 17 centimeters and a height of 9 centimeters. Round to the nearest hundredths. So before anything, we need to figure out the formula for a volume of a cylinder. I'm going to go into our course materials, and then I'm going to pull up our star 8 reference formula chart. So based off of our star chart, it looks like the volume of a cylinder, which is right here, is going to be V equals big B times H. So I'm going to write the formula down, V equals big B times H. And I know that the big B stands for base area, and the area of the base of a cylinder is going to be the circle. And because we have that circle with a diameter of 17, I know that the area of the circle would just be pi r squared, and that's also on our star chart, which is right here, area, and the circle is right there. So now I'm going to figure out our big B by doing the pi r squared, and I know that the diameter is 17, making the radius 8.5, which is half of 17. So I'm going to do pi times 8.5 squared, and I'm going to find the big B. Now I need my calculator, so I'm going to pull up my Desmos calculator on the right. And I'm going to delete my screen and start off with a fresh screen. I'm going to do pi times 8.5 squared. And then we have our answer, 226.98. I'm going to the hundredths place. Now though, this is our big B, we need to multiply that by the height, and it said that the height is 9 centimeters. So I'm going to do 226.98 times the height, which is 9. So we have our final answer as 2,042.82, and that should be our final answer for number 1. Number 2. Find the volume of the given cylinder, round to the nearest hundredths. So we have another cylinder that has a radius of 25, and then we have a height of 40 inches. I know that the volume of a cylinder is big B times H. Again, in order to find the big B, it would be pi r squared, and it would be pi times 25 squared. And if we do that on our calculator, it could be pi times 25 squared, and that gives us 1,963.50 because we're rounding to the nearest hundredths. And then we're going to multiply that by the height. So I'm going to do 1,963.5 times 40, and that should give our answer as 78,540 inches cubed. So that would be our final answer for number 2. Number 3, find the volume of a cone with a radius of 4 inches and a height of 6.2 inches. So now round to the nearest hundredths as well. Now we have a cone. So when we have a cone, I'm going to go back to our star chart real quick. It says that the cone, the volume of a cone is going to be 1/3 times big B times H. So when we have that going on, we just have to understand that it's 1/3 of the volume of a cylinder. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the cylinders. I'm going to start with the big B, the area of the base, which is the circle again, and it's just pi r squared. So it would be pi times 4 squared because the radius is 4. I'm going to go to my calculator. So pi times 4 squared, that gives you 50.27. And now I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is 6.2 in this case. So I'm going to do 50.27 times 6.2, and that gives you 311.67 as your final answer. Oh, not your final answer yet. Now we have to divide that by 1, or we would have to multiply that by 1/3 because of it being a cone. So don't forget that 1/3. And then I'm going to Just plug it right in into our calculator. 311.67 times 1/3. So the division symbol can give you the fraction. So now we have 103.89 as our final answer. So after you multiply that by 1/3, we get 103.89. There we go. Number 4, find the volume of the given cone, round to the nearest hundredths. So now we have another cone, and we have the height as 9. And then we have the 8 as a diameter, so the radius would be a 4. So we know that volume is 1/3 times big B times h again. That big B would be pi r squared. So pi times 4 squared would give you the big B. So on our calculator, pi times 4 squared, that would give us 50.27. And then I'm going to multiply that by the height. So we would do 1/3 times, so 50.27 times the height would be 9. So we just need to do our last step after we do that, which is multiplying it by 1/3. So I'm going to do 452.43 times 1/3. And that gives you 150.81 feet cubed. Number 5, a beach ball is in the shape of a sphere and it has a diameter of 12.6 centimeters. How much air can the beach ball hold round to the nearest hundredths? So we're going to go back to the formula chart, and I know that sphere is definitely on here, which is right underneath volume, and it is V equals 4/3 times pi times r to the 3rd power. So I'm going to do V equals 4/3 times pi times r to the 3rd power, and I'm going to just plug in all of my numbers. So we just do 4 times pi times the diameter is 12.6, making the radius, if you just cut that in half, divide it by 2, it gives you 6.3, and just make sure it's to the 3rd power. So I'm going to do all of that and just plug it into our calculator. And it's 4/3 times pi times 6.3 to the 3rd power. It gives you 1,047.39 centimeters cubed. So we have a nice large number for that. Number 6, find the volume of the given sphere, round to the nearest hundredths. So again, we have V equals 4/3 times pi times r to the 3rd power, which is 4/3 times pi times 2.2. It nicely gives us the radius. So all we have to do is plug it in. 4 times pi times 2.2 to the 3rd power. We have a nice little number, which is 44.60 centimeters cubed. Number 7, at the fair, popcorn can be bought in a container shaped like a cone or a cylinder as shown below. Which container holds more popcorn? How much does it hold? Round to the nearest hundredths. So we have 2 different shapes. A cone, which is V equals, let me put this in a different color. V equals 1/3 times big B times h, and then a cylinder would be V equals just big B times h. So I'm going to do the cylinder first. It's 1/3 times pi r squared. So I'm going to do that first and then do multiply that by the height. So pi r squared would be pi times 10 times, or 10 squared times 25. So I'm going to just do that in one line. So 1/3 times 10, or pi, times 10 squared times 25. And that gives you 2,617.99 for the cone. Then we're going to do the cylinder. The cylinder is going to be 7 times, or 7 pi r squared. So I'm going to start with pi actually. So pi times 7 squared times the h, which is 18. So I'm going to do that in one setting as well. 1 times 7 squared times 18. The height would give you 2,770.88. So we have two different volumes, 2,617.99, 2,770.88. And our question says, which container holds more popcorn? How much more does it hold? Round to the nearest hundredths. So obviously we can say that the cylinder holds more popcorn, and we can definitely just subtract them. So 2,770.88 minus 2,617.99 should give us the answer for that. So I'm going to do that on my calculator. And that gives you 152.89 centimeters. So that would be the answer for number 7.